Welcome. Obviously, some people are here on Zoom, some people are here in person, but I wanted to kind of talk about what the coverage is, so you don't have the expectations here of maybe something that I'm not covering. This is really applying mainly to online classes. I think you can do some of this in person, and it's not trying to be a complete coverage. These are basically 3 different techniques that I found to be particularly effective. And so I want to show you basically what they are, and then show you how to do them yourself. So my main idea is that if we can make online classes at MTSU stronger in some way, that will reflect well on all of us. And so these are good techniques, and I think they've been proven. So they've been used before. This is not something I pulled out of my hat like last week. So what I want to show you first, this is kind of cool. It's a podcast. Now, before you think, okay, plenty of podcasts, this is a very custom podcast. So I'm going to play it for you here in a second. And what I want to do is show you not only what can be done with it, but the amazing things that can be done with it as far as teaching. So let me see if I can get this going, and hopefully this works. John,
before we
interactive, we said, right?
Today, we actually have a really quick shout out to make.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, to the professors and the faculty at MTSU who are tuning in right now.
Right. Thank you all for coming to the presentation today.
Yeah, the one sponsored by the Center for Teaching and Mentoring. And we just wanted to let you guys know that these deep dives, they are completely customizable.
Exactly. You can tailor them to make them, super personal for your own students.
Which is actually the perfect setup for what we are focusing on today, right? We're looking at the innovative ways that AI can be used to improve online courses and, well, just course delivery.
I'm going to pause it for a second, only because I want to show you what you can do with this. Obviously, you've got a picture of the fact that this is a podcast that's been customized. And I see we have some more people joining us. Hello, welcome. Oh, I know these two. So they completely customizable, so you can actually focus it very much on your students. Not only that, but I'll show you can direct it in terms of the information that you're presenting. But what I want to show you is one more cool feature. So first of all, what we're doing is a podcast that can be downloaded as an audio file and used and put in class. And I have that in my Canvas class where I actually teach using podcasts. So you can create off your own material. But there's something else while I'm here I want to show you. It's really cool. How this works. So I'm going to continue playing it. Anybody have a question for it?
Completely overwhelmed by an online course.
Let's try this.
It felt like an endless test of your steps.
Hey there. Want to share your thoughts on this?
Okay, I was wondering how this might apply to classes that are online that are particularly large.
That is a fantastic question. And it's actually exactly what a lot of this research addresses.
Oh, absolutely. Large enrollment is one of the biggest challenges for distance education.
Yeah, think about it. Distance education universities often welcome a huge number of students.
And that large volume means more questions, more needs, more administrative work for the faculty.
Exactly. So
it's funny, I also like had a phone call in the background, and I heard the phone. But obviously, it allows you to create interactive podcasts, which is really wild. And I want to show you the good side and bad side of that and how you can potentially use this. But the focus of this is like you can not only listen to a podcast, but you can join in, and it's real time and it's interactive with you. So let's go back and talk about what is actually being done here, because you can create these really, really easily for your own class. And I use them again for teaching. So I'm using NotebookLM. NotebookLM is made by Google. One thing about NotebookLM that makes it really unique is something it says right there. It grounds its responses strictly in the user uploaded documents. So you don't have to worry about it starting to go astray like a ChatGPT or something like that. What's it going to talk about? It talks about what you give it. So what I did in this case is I gave it 3 papers. You can see the papers there. They're all focused on something that, that we're talking about today. Use of AI for customized learning experiences and so on. So I gave it these 3 PDFs, but you can give it Word documents. You can give it, I think, websites to some degree. You can give it lots of different sources. And it will, again, focus only on those, and it will combine them. So taking that the next step, this is what it looks like. I'm actually going to take you there. So I want you to see what this is actually like. And I should have a hot link already, but I'll go ahead and leave it here. So what you'll see here on this page is the 3 documents that I uploaded right here. So those are all PDFs. And what I have is, first of all, a summary, and it provides a number of things. You can see all the things it will give you. It'll give you a video overview, a slide deck, a mind map. It'll question you over this type of stuff. But the main thing that I'm dealing with is the audio overview. Before we get to that, though, what's super cool about this is from a student standpoint, instead of actually having to like read these PDFs, because we all assign them and we wonder whether or not they're reading them or not, giving them the opportunity to actually summarize it, get in a podcast. They can make a podcast out of it. They can do an interactive podcast and ask it questions to explain things further and so on. Makes it much more live for them. They can even listen to it on the car, something like that. So this has a lot of abilities to it. It is free, by the way. NotebookLM is a Google product. You're going to have a limited number of uses of creating this because these are not like real time. They actually have to take probably 10, 15 minutes to create one of these. And I generally get about 3 or 4 of them out of the day, perhaps. Well, let me show you what it looks like. So you would load up the actual documents. It'll give you a synopsis and all those things. And again, I'm not going to take you through all the exploration here. I want to show you specifically what it looks like to do podcasts. Now, hopefully you can see this on your screen. You have 4 options and how you want these podcasts to take place. A deep dive, which is like, let's go in with 2 hosts. Let's talk about this in depth. A brief, a critique, or even a debate between them. It sounds very live. The vocals sound like there are 2 people talking about this, and you can decide how short or long you want to make it. And so I set this as default. So what you heard there, just the intro, also required some customization. So this is what you can have fun with. What should they focus on? So you can actually talk about, I want them to focus on this. And I do this for my class, my grad class. I'm like, okay, I want you to look at this paper, but as they're doing this podcast, I want you to focus on this particular application of business intelligence or something like that. So as a professor, then I can say, yeah, there's a whole paper here, but this is really what I want the students to walk away with. This is also where I put what some of y'all didn't hear when you came in a little bit late. So was the fact that it's like, okay, customize it, make it to your students. So basically you could put in here, say welcome, start this off with a welcome to Dr. Seipel students in my BIA business intelligence class. And so the students see this as a personal greeting, a personal podcast, which is what it becomes. So it's a really cool tool for getting students to utilize AI in a way and learn from it rather than having to do the dry reading that all of us grew up on. And we all know that's not the best way to learn always. So at least give them both. But so the way I use this, just so I can tell you real quick what I do and what I don't do. And I'll probably need to go over the slide to show you that. Let's see here if I can get to the right one. I think it was that one I went to and I skipped. Let's try that one. Okay, it's pros and cons. I think that was next. Yep. So there's some pros and cons to this. The pros, and I'll come to the cons here in a second. The pros, it is limited to what you give it, which is actually a good thing. You don't want to explore things that I'm not really interested in you learning. It's highly customizable and focusable on how exactly you want it to be taught or what to be taught. It will output high quality audio. Now this is really nice because you can actually transcribe it, you can close caption. So I try to be articulate, but I know when my videos go onto YouTube or something like that, I know my closed captioning is average. But when I've done closed captioning on stuff like this, it's perfect. It's spot on because the voices are really good. Cons are, well, if you're going to be using this in the future, you want to say, if you're going to use this in the future, the new requirements, which you probably got that email actually today, require that you have transcripts. Now, what I liked about it was you could put an audio file out there, a podcast, and say, I'm going to give you a quiz over this. And there was no way they could really use AI against it. That's gone. They use AI against the transcript now. So you're required by law, I guess, to do that. And again, if you want the interactivity, which is that part of the ability to ask questions, they actually have to have a Google account. The student does. And I don't think that's something we can require, but you could do what I do, which is give them the podcast and say, learn it this way. You had a question, Sam?
So the closed caption, is it like an option within?
I have not seen that there, but what you can do, which is pretty cool in NotebookLM, is when you start a project, this is what I've heard and what I've done, is you're starting the project, you get the output, you start a new project, and the audio file is your input. And you say, create a verbatim transcript of this, and it will do it. So there's another nice way of doing it. Now, I use ElevenLabs to do that, which is an audio program, which I will talk about later. But it also, of course, gives you that ability. So you can actually play with these things quite a bit. But yes, it does. I would hate to have to create the transcript of all this, certainly. Questions or comments real quick about that? Yes.
One real quick. So if you have an interactive and a student asks questions that's not in the documents you've loaded, how would it respond?
Let's try that, because I have pulled some really crazy stuff. Sam, you've probably seen that, haven't you, when I pulled some stuff on this? So I'm gonna go back to this and let's see if we can go and try this. So again, I'm gonna play the one that we were doing and you guys will hopefully make it interactive. Okay. So the people that weren't here earlier can hear the customization now.
Before we jump into the main topic today, we actually have a really quick shout out to make.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, to the professors and the faculty at MTSU who are tuning in right now.
Right. Thank you all for coming to the presentation today.
Yeah, the one sponsored by the Center for Teaching and Mentoring. And we just wanted to let you guys know that the
Crazy question you want to ask? You want to try it or you want me to?
Customized.
Exactly. You can tailor them to make them, super personal for your own students.
Which is actually the perfect setup.
Hey there. Want to share your thoughts on this?
Yeah, what'd you guys have for breakfast this morning?
Well, hello there. Great to hear from you.
Oh, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are.
You know, it's funny you ask. I am running purely on coffee and the promise of AI innovation today.
I actually had a fairly traditional breakfast, oddly enough. I had some Greek yogurt with some berries.
That's interesting.
Efficient. You're trying to achieve
Just handles it.
state early in the morning.
Exactly. I need all my processing power for this deep dive.
Which is actually the perfect segue, right? We were just getting ready to talk about the perfect.
That's not in the content you fed to it. right?
Nothing. There's nothing about breakfast. There's nothing about anything.
So it's making up.
Yes, it's handling it. What I have seen. So what you're worried about is it going to bring something out? No, what they've done is generally when I've seen this, is they find a way of folding and bringing back what you're supposed to be bringing in. So what I've asked is questions is I've asked is like, what's 2 + 2? And they would say, well, the answer is obviously 4. But you bring up a good point. These things really aren't additive in that same way. I'm like, oh gosh, you pulled it in just like that. And so I have not found a way to fool it and like start saying things that aren't appropriate.
That's good.
So it doesn't make up things. It's pretty tight on those documents. It's a great question. Other questions? So again, I just bring in the audio. If you don't want to use the interactive part, and I have not done that with students because I don't require they have a Gmail account or a Google account. Just bring in the audio files. You can, once you've created them, you can download the audio, save the audio as an audio file, and then upload it to Canvas and use it from there. But again, get your transcript. Alrighty, so moving on. Pros and cons, we talked about that. I'm gonna go for a little bit different here. This is not gonna be nearly as exciting because I'm gonna slow it down a bit and then I'm gonna speed it up at the end, okay? And I'm finding also speed-wise, I'm probably gonna go too fast. I talk fast sometimes, my apologies. I guess on the Zoom, you can put me at half speed. So one thing I like to do with students is what I call it, I've heard it called before that, feral learning. So I'll readily admit my wife and I homeschooled our kids. I should say she homeschooled, I watched. But the bottom line is when you have freedom to learn, you'll go in directions that are interesting to you. And I think that pays dividends even at the university level. We all have our coverage that we need to be there. But we also know that students might have other interests even within what we're teaching. And so one thing that we can use AI for is to allow them to discover things and generate their own interest in things. And this, again, very low tech, nothing more than what you're already doing, but it may be in a form that you're not used to. And I do this in all of my classes that I do online. The tool is pretty much AI. I think most people are now starting to get really connected with Claude. It's a great tool. I still use ChatGPT. I don't really like the other ones besides Claude, but it's your choice. Here's the setup. We've all given these chapter exams. We've all given the test bank questions. And we all know AI solves those like that because you're asking general knowledge. And so the students basically could in the past do Control F. We know that one. And like find this word, find this phrase, and they'd all do wonderfully and they would know nothing. So every generation cheats. So why not at least give them a chance to try and learn if they're going to use AI anyway? So what I've done is instead of giving them chapter exams, moving away from that hard assessment, I have questions that are for discussion. Those questions that you don't want to grade. The ones at the end of the chapter, you're like, I would love to ask that. Like compare and contrast this in like 2 pages or less. The students hate them and none of us want to grade them, unless we get AI to do it for us. And so what I've done is instead picked subsets and like, okay, address one of these questions. Here's 5 of them, choose one. but I want you to use AI to answer it. And right now you're thinking, that sounds so stupid easy. Why would I assign that? That's easier than the old chapter exams. I'm trying to spur some imagination. So I started with that. Find a question, answer it, okay, with AI. Now here's where it follows up, which is good. Now, what AI provides you, now start probing. This is complete laissez-faire. It's basically go where you want to go. And so you can see this is literally what I have in Canvas, which is ask the question, then follow-up question based on something what AI told you. Go anywhere you want. You can see the instruction at the bottom here. Follow-up and final questions should reflect your personal interests, allowing you to explore aspects. Go anywhere. I know you're also thinking, well, there's a way around that, and I will address that as well. But at the very least, you'd be surprised what I get. So as again, get a response, probe it, get another response, probe it. You notice I'm also telling them to limit it. I want them to read it. If I say, explain this, and it gives them 2 pages, they're not going to read it. They get 5 sentences, they're likely just to skim it over, at least to get the idea for the next question. And you have to also ask, how am I grading this, right? That's another important question here. So what happens? I didn't have an exact example I wanted to give you, but you can see you're chasing mind squirrels, if you will. I mean, that's what we all love. I don't know if you guys are like that, but I'll be learning something else at squirrel, and I'll go chase that. And that's probably why we're who we are. We're very curious individuals. What I found with this, which is really interesting, is you get certainly the people that want to cheat. You certainly get the people that are, okay, I'll just make up a question that's really not helpful. You're going to get that anyway. But what you get is people that ask really good questions and they're curious. So it might be something like, how do we apply? I'm trying to think of one of the discussion questions. I should have brought examples of it. About data cleansing or something like that. And again, my areas in business intelligence and statistics. And a student would, again, the first question is from the discussion questions. There's no if, and, or but about that. But then the next response, they're like, oh, well, how does that apply in my area? I'm in finance. So all of a sudden they start applying it to that. Or, well, what if this happens? What are they going to do in that case? And it'll, again, give them a response. And they're like, but, well, what if this happens as well? What's interesting is, I ask them only to do 2 follow-up questions. I see students with 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Because they're probing. It's feral learning. It's learning on their own because they're curious. They're not graded on the answers. In fact, you grade them on the questions, which is interesting. The only thing I request is don't ask stupid questions. Don't say, give me an example. Give me an example, because I know you're being lazy. Be curious. And what I find again is you get the 80-20 rule. 80% actually ask good questions. They're curious and they probe. Now they usually stop at 3. The good students go on. The bad ones, you can see what happens. And anybody want to guess what they actually do? This is what's funny. I think I have it on my pros and cons. I'll come to the important details in a second. They get one AI to come up with questions for the other AI. That's the way to cheat around it. And it's like, okay, I can see that. And in fact, I think one of the systems, and I hope the students aren't getting this video, but one of the AI systems, I think, actually gives them the next question. It like probes it. And I don't know if that's Copilot or one of them, but you're in there, it might be Gemini. And it will say, well, another good question behind that would be this. And they're like, okay, so they can cheat it that way. But you can certainly make alterations to kind of catch them on that. Question?
I just had a comment.
Sure,
I don't want
please.
to sound like the kiss.
I may repeat it because of the mic.
I don't want to sound like a kiss up in the class, but I had a student in my office this morning at 7:30 talking about the class that I teach, and she mentioned your class and this assignment that you were just describing. And she was saying, it is so cool because he tells us to use AI. And then I didn't understand exactly what she was describing, but it was what you just had up there. And she was saying, I love doing his homework.
Really?
Really?
It's cool.
It was from an undergraduate, your 3620.
Interesting. Okay. That's actually really good to hear that.
Yeah, and if you want after, I'll tell you who it was. What she-
I don't need to know. I'd really rather not know.
I mean, that was just 8 hours ago this morning, and she was bragging about that. And we weren't talking about your class to begin. We were talking about my class. She was saying, my class seems to be more like your class.
Because you're already a great professor. That's
What
crazy.
did you do like after cycle desk?
No, seriously, I hope not. I know you're better, just there with me. But what I'm saying is all of us can use this. It's not hard. It's really not hard. It's easy to put in place. And you know what they submit? They submit a URL. Okay, wait a second, how do they submit a URL? Let me give you that part, because you would think what I'm asking, they would just submit the whole conversation, right? But you don't want the conversation. They can have one AI create all that. And this actually teaches them more. So here are the additional requirements. You have to make this submission a public conversation in your AI program, whatever platform you're using. Here's how you test it. Send it to someone else, do it in an incognito window, do something that says, yes, it's public, but you can share those. I don't know if you've done that in AI, but you can share a conversation. And you can say, Google it. If you don't know how to do it, Google it. It's easy. And so this is kind of fun. I actually have a link here. You can actually do this in AI as well. You can actually give it all the documents that your assignment's based off of and create a public AI, which will answer their questions about it. So if they have questions about the assignment, you can do this with anything, like a paper or whatever. You can put all the things that you had in the past, cues, questions that you had from other students in the past, load it all up, make the conversation public, give them the link, and then they can ask, well, can I do this? And AI will answer the question for you. So nothing to do with this, but I thought I'd throw that in. But the bottom line is I just get links. I get links from students. It's fill in the blank. I say it has to be publicly accessible. This is how you test it. How do I grade it? It's easy. Right click open. Right click open. I look at them. Are they the right questions? Are you asking reasonable questions to follow it? I don't care what the answers are. They're AI answers. I don't grade those. And so for me, I can go through 30 students in probably 20 minutes. It's that quick. And it's usually all credit or not. I'm not like, that's kind of a good question. I don't know what their interests are. As long as it's not, give me an example. Give me an example is like, oh, come on, do better. No, I do provide them an example of what a bad question and a good question would look like. So they do have some, some warning on that. But it's not hard to grade this. And you can see why I threw this in here. This is something that anybody can use. And apparently they like it because they can explore fairly. They can go wherever they want to go. And you'd be surprised where people will go. I can say that because of 4 kids, and our 4 kids are like all over the place. They're not like me. They're not like my wife. They're just everywhere. And like, kind of fun when you talk to your kids and they're talking over your head in some area. Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah, all right. You guys probably don't know that. I guess I'm probably stupid enough to have that go over my head. Okay, so here are the pros and cons. They get to go explore anything that's interesting to them. And I do love some of these discussion questions. One of them I know, one chapter is, how can a robotic vacuum cleaner be as smart as a 6-year-old? Like, well, that's an interesting question. In what way? And then they will probe it. It's like, well, it's not really as smart as a 6-year-old, unless you're talking about vacuuming floors or like moving around on the floor, that type of stuff. They get a little exposure to prompt engineering because they start to understand what actually gets a good response. And most of the students have more AI experience than we do. That's not always true, but we also know a lot of students are using AI to their benefit. Let's get everybody up to speed. And again, we don't have to grade the responses because we know that's the hard part. The grammar's bad. I don't care about the grammar of the questions. Are you asking a good question? Are you inquisitive? As I mentioned, the bad thing is you can use AI to ask AI. I can't stop cheating. I don't even bother. It's hard to tell. Don't tell the students we're not checking that. And they a lot of times will ignore that testing of the link, which is actually
Hello.
Hello? Yes?
Yes.
Carlos.
Okay, Carlos,
Yes.
is that you?
Yes.
Okay, you have a question.
No, it's open.
What?
He's just talking. Oh, just talking, okay. Mute. Okay. They obviously a lot of times forget to actually test it and see whether or not it's publicly available. So I'll get a link and I'll click on it and it'll be this dead link or won't be recognized, in which case I give them the 0. It's like part of the job is to critically test it. And if you don't, then you fail the assignment. They're like, well, it's just a technical part. I'm like, no, that's like not turning in the paper, if you're asking like that. And limitations, they have to be able to create public AI conversations, but ask yourself, how many students are not using AI? Number 1. Number 2 is how many of them can not Google and figure out how to do it? It's simple. If you want to create instructions, go for it. I wouldn't do that, but that's me. Questions or comments? Yes.
There's a question in the Zoom chat, and Tara is asking, when asking students to use the AI, do we emphasize using free tools or rather than paid versions to address potential student equity concerns?
Okay, so in this case, nothing that I'm using here that the students would need access to would need to be paid. That brings up an interesting question though, from our standpoint, from a faculty standpoint. Because I don't know how many of us are aware, but a lot of the stuff that we create in AI is not usable if you don't have a license that you pay for. So for example, with ElevenLabs, which I'll show you here shortly, I don't know on the other ones, but I can't physically use that audio that I'm creating from that or anything like that unless I have the license. So sometimes it makes sense to pay for the license. But from that direct standpoint, no, I would never require anything. I mean, you could potentially have it in place of a textbook. And what's the difference? But again, I don't know what the university policy is on that. Does that help it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Please stop me if you have questions. Yes.
So if you are uploading or walk me through if it's copyrighted documents, what advice do you have if I want to use NotebookLM?
No, so you're going back to the first one, NotebookLM. Okay, all right. I don't know. It's assuming probably you have access because you're providing it.
Okay.
So all it's doing is summarizing it. It's just talking about it. Probably no different than us talking about it, I would assume.
But can we upload copyrighted? Did you know?
Well, technically, if you have a document that's copyrighted, let's say you have a PDF of a textbook that you're not supposed to have a PDF of because it's only an ebook, it's copyrighted material, I would think no.
Yeah, and I don't ever put textbooks in there, but, and the
Yeah.
students.
But even
Yeah.
a journal article, right, unless you paid for the journal, right, you don't actually own.
You don't
Right.
own it.
But can you not have someone discuss it? I don't have the answer to that. Can
No,
you?
just.
Yeah, no, it's a good
if
question.
You heard
Yeah.
something. This
No, I'm not.
Okay.
But that is a good question because, so, I mean, we're obviously creating something off a podcast, off of potentially copyrighted material. I don't know if that's an issue. It seemed to me that it wouldn't be, but that would be because it'd be applying to AI because we're allowed to discuss them. But I guess the computer would be discussing it.
Maybe fair use because what it.
Well, that's, yeah, I think within fair use,
Fair
probably
use,
because
that's what I'm
it's
wondering.
educational purposes, you'd probably get away
Usually,
with it,
yeah.
yeah.
That's a good question.
You know,
So that's why the university have lawyers, right?
fair use is in the law, it's just a defense.
Yeah.
Right, so.
All right. So I'm
The
gonna,
electron made a breakthrough.
all right, I'm gonna go on to the next one.
Exactly.
Okay, so the thing I really wanted to show you was basically we're creating online presentations. I got about a half hour left, so this is perfect timing.
We're bringing you back. That's it.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry?
We are bringing you back.
And I actually put this at the end. I'm happy to actually run a workshop on how to do any of these with people, like step by step. Let's create some for you. So if the center wants to do that, I'm happy to come back and do that with people individually, small groups or whatever. But what I want to bring you to is what we can do in terms of creating online presentations that look professional. So I'm about to click to the next slide, and that's kind of a teaser about what you can do. Had a little fun with AI on the visual, but you can see how, and this is really easy to create.
The electron made a break for it the moment nobody was looking, slipping out of its orbital like a tiny, over-caffeinated fugitive obeying neither traffic laws nor common sense. 1 second it was minding its business in a nice, predictable energy level, and the next it absorbed just enough energy to say, nope, and quantum tunneled its way through what physics politely calls a potential barrier, and what the electron clearly considered more of a suggestion.
So professionally narrated. That's a slide. You can create slides and they are professionally narrated. It's not hard at all. I'll go take you through that process. I'm using 2 tools here. First one I'm using is a general AI tool. You can use ChatGPT, you can use Claude, you can use any of these. And you're basically using them to kind of create the narrative, if you will. And I'll explain all that. And then we're going to be using ElevenLabs. ElevenLabs is text to speech or speech to text. It's that audio aspect of it. And I've used it both ways. I've gone audio, text to speech and speech to text. So it just depends. Very professional. I will tell you, I pay for both of these. ElevenLabs is based off credits. You can burn through those. But again, I do it for a month and come off for a month. But it's like $20. And it gives me plenty of things to do. When I have created my online classes, I will like use that intensely for like 3 months. And then I'm out for a while. And you can buy more credits. But I'll walk you through both of them. So here's the main process. First of all, create the slide. I think this is critical because this is the part where it's used your creativity. How do you want to present? What do you want to present? What visuals am I going to be using to actually make the point? I use PowerPoint. Then I'm going to use AI to create narrative text. I'm going to use this by providing the slide itself. So this comes in, I'll show you that. I'm going to dictate what I want to cover, and then I'm going to curate, sorry for the language, curate the hell out of it, okay? I think it's really important, that last part, because not only does it sometimes not come out the way you want it, but you want to make sure you're stressing what they need to learn from that slide. So it is a process. It is not a one-off, this is easy, run it through ChatGPT, and you got slides, you got narration. If you're doing it that way, I think you're being lazy. I think you can do much better. Focus it, okay? But I will take you through an example here. Then use ElevenLabs to take that narrative text, convert it to audio. So now we have audio narration, and you're gonna be amazed what you can do with ElevenLabs. Then you download the narration, and again, this is just the process. The reason why is I wanted you to have this before I step through it. So you have some like, okay, this is what I do next. Take that audio narration, insert it in the slide, and change the animation so it plays when you want it to play. Easy enough. If you haven't done animation in PowerPoint, it's easy. So setting this up, piece of cake. Then save the slides as a PowerPoint show or export it to YouTube. I do both. The reason why is PowerPoint shows, and someone's going to correct me, I'm sure, don't do closed captioning very well, as far as I can tell. YouTube does it expertly, and particularly if you're running through ElevenLabs, no mistakes. It's dead on. And so I give the students the choice. Closed caption, not closed caption, big difference. YouTube, no active links. So the slides don't have active links. PowerPoint show, everything's active. So I push PowerPoint show, do this. It will come out step by step. It's animated. It looks good. And I always suggest saving the narrative text like in the notes underneath the PowerPoint slide. So you always have a way to reference it, change it later, know exactly what it said if a student questions it. Let's walk through this. So I'm going to show you what I did on a slide, and I'll show you the end result of this. Again, I'm teaching in business intelligence. This is a particular model we're dealing with, which is purchasing external data, acquiring data. Yes, you had a question.
So where do you store the PowerPoint show?
The PowerPoint show, it's, PowerPoint is usually a PPTX file. It's a PPSX file. And so
where is it?
I put it in Canvas.
So it's a file in Canvas.
It is a file in Canvas. They click on it and it will try to play it through Canvas and it won't be active. So I actually have very clearly on there, download this and play this on your own computer. And that's what makes it all work. So great question, actually.
And it should play, I mean, don't PPSs play without PowerPoint?
Yes,
Yeah,
they do.
you don't-
I believe so. But the students have free
They do
access.
that.
Yeah, the students have free access anyway.
Yeah.
So either way. All right, so here's my slide. You can see, I'm really creating a slide here. And a lot of my focus is on creatively, what do I want to do? In this case, I'm taking them through an example, something they're familiar with, coffee shops, which is like, here's external data you could probably get for free. What could you do with it? And so you can see, not only do I have the different sources, but I have maybe a question or an answer that it could give you if you're running the coffee shop. That's where I'm starting, okay? Now I take that, I'm using ChatGPT. I bring that pic, just a pic of the slide. ChatGPT can read it, can figure out what's on there. And then I give it a narrative or a discussion of what I want. Here's where you get to have your fun with the customization. I gave you a really simple one. Mine don't look this simple. Provide a brief narrative of the slide focusing on how each of the external services can be utilized to improve the operations of a coffee shop. Very, very simple. But I would do more things like, provide specific examples. My request from ChatGPT is much more extensive than this, but it depends on what you want to teach. It provides then narrative text.
Do you use ChatGPT to create their request?
Great.
Do you use ChatGPT to create
this.
Create the prompt?
No, this is me. This is all my stuff, right?
No, what I'm saying, I sometimes do.
Oh, use it
I
yourself.
say, hey, I'm trying to work this up. Ask me some questions because I want to create a really efficient prompt for you.
I have
I'll use
used
that with Claude and it does not a terrible job.
I found that sometimes it's pretty effective. It gets me thinking about things in ways I hadn't.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, ultimately, I'm sure you do the same thing. You ultimately write it yourself.
Yeah.
Curated. I love that word. Next step. Take this narrative text, bring it into ElevenLabs. And again, I'm going to show you this. I'm going to bring up the links here in a second. In fact, why don't we do that now? Let's kind of go through this. And I have a feeling I'm going pretty fast, so I didn't realize, Sam, this would go this quick. So my apologies. I probably just talk fast.
You're good. It's recorded.
Yes, they can slow it down, right?
No worries.
All right, so let's go take a look at some of this. So first of all, here is ChatGPT. So you can see all the other things I search on too. So please ignore those other things. We can make that like that. There you go. Now you can't see all those other things. I'm trying to dig up a crepe myrtle in the backyard and stuff like that. So all those things I ask about. So I gave it literally the picture, just copied and pasted in there, and I said, provide a brief narrative. And you can see here, it'll give you, in this case, it gave the narrative that I'll be showing here in a bit. This is one that I have already curated, so I just kind of made it work for you the first time. But now I have text. So this is, how you can run this over and over and over, keep getting the one to the right one. Sometimes you have to do it a little bit in this extra step too, is you'll find things that it'll use acronyms for, like business intelligence is, the acronym is BI, but a lot of times if it's not spelled out right, it'll just say buy. It's like, I don't want buy, I want PI. So sometimes as you make that next step, you'll have to create and change the text. So then I take it to ElevenLabs. This is what ElevenLabs looks like. This is cool. So again, I can't run this because it takes time. But what I will do is I would take the text and I would paste it in here. In fact, we can try one, just something really quick. Let's say, well, I'm gonna need some glasses so I can actually see what I'm typing. Anybody have any suggestions for something really stupid to say real quick? How about, hi, everyone. I hope this is helpful. That's something stupid. Okay, and spelled wrong. That'll make it even worse. Okay, and all you have to do then is choose the voice that you want. Here's what's cool about this. So I have certain voices I already use. Notice there's me here. I'm gonna go about that. I'm gonna chase that scroll for a second. ElevenLabs is this good. If you will give it a 10-second sample of your voice, it will try to mimic it. It doesn't quite sound like you, but it's pretty close. You give it a 30-minute sample of your voice, it will mimic it perfectly. They won't be able to tell the difference. You have to be willing to invest that. Honestly, I don't think I have that great of a voice, and so I'm much happier using their choices of voices. How many do they have? 300 languages, over 3,000 voices. You want to do it in French? Oh, we can do this in French. You want any language you want, you choose. In fact, let's have a little fun with this real quick. I don't know if it's going to translate it too, but we'll try. Okay. So John and I were playing with this earlier, weren't we? So I'm going to go to Explore, let's select a voice, and I can start actually figuring out, filtering what kind of voice I want. So for example, let's go languages. Let's start with something simple. Let's go English. Sorry, it's a little slow. Your computer's slow here. Oh, it's got in that mode. Hold on. There we go. Let's do English. And do we want an accent? Check this out. Okay, do you want a Canadian, British accent, Scottish accent? Perhaps let's do Scottish. And here we go. Let's see if we got here a Scottish voice, fresh. Listen, let's see if this would be a good voice.
Hello, this is Crofty. Well, the AI version of Crofty, I have the most trusted accent in the universe. Let's make some amazing content together.
And you can go through and search, look at all these Scottish English voices. So you can choose, and I'll tell you, this takes you a little bit sometimes, trying to find that professional voice that you want, which doesn't sound too weird. I will tell you, I choose more than one voice. Why? Because when I'm presenting these things online, I'll have times when I want it to be instructive and times I want it to talk about the case. So in the situation where I'm teaching early on, we use a vintner, a winemaker, as our case. And whenever we're talking about the company, I use a British woman to do the dialogue. But usually I use a man. I'm biased, okay? So I use a professional sounding man, and he does most of the teaching. So kind of close to me, but not really. Lots of choices of voices. Let's try this though. I don't know what's going to happen if I do this in French. Let's do it in English real quick. Let's choose a different one. Let's try this voice.
Rest and your energy will be restored.
Okay, and I'm going to say generate speech. And just this is off whatever I give it here.
Hi everyone, I hope this is helpful.
Is that the same one? It sounded like it was a different, it's because I haven't chosen them probably. So let's choose, let's try this in French. I don't know what's going to happen here. So this is one of those be like, okay, this could be anything here. I don't know if it's going to convert it. It may be expecting me to write in French. Let's see here, German, French, there it is, okay. And so these should all be French. Let's try this one.
Vous recherchez une voix narrative pour un audiobook, une story ou tout autre projet audio, choisissez ma voix.
Okay, so I'm going to choose this one. And now I can actually make adjustments. I can say how fast you want them to talk, how stable, how similar, how much of exaggeration you have. So you can play with the voices actually and get kind of the voice you want, which is really cool. I assume this was Alexandra Boutin, but it's the same one that we did earlier. Again, lots of controls here. Let's try and generate speech and see if it's in English or in French. It might be English with a French accent.
Hi, everyone. I hope this is helpful.
That's not who we wanted. It does work. I've never done the French, so it made us not like that because it's in English and it's saying do it in French. But you can see how easy this is. Yes.
So you can upload PowerPoints,
To this,
yeah. And
this would be
then
just the script.
the script,
The script. So any language you have, you can basically turn it into speech.
okay.
You uploaded the PowerPoint to ChatGPT,
Yes.
did you? Yeah.
Yes, that's a good clarification there.
Yeah.
To get the narration, I uploaded the slide. I uploaded what I wanted to do. I took the narration. The narration is what I'm gonna be posting here potentially. And I'll show you that result in a second. Sorry, thank you for clarification on that. And again, you can regenerate. This will burn through some of your credits, but it does give you a few chances with the different voices and so on. I think there's something else.
So
I want to point
after
out.
you generate the voice, then you add it to.
That's the next point, yes. And that's actually on a slide, but what you're asking is exactly right. After I get what I want, download. So now I have an audio file. And the audio file is what I'm going to bring into PowerPoint.
For each slide, correct?
Yes, I do this by slide.
Okay.
It's not hard. Again, creating a really good, rich online course. You know, per module, how many slides do I have? Not every slide is going to have that deep instructions, but you can have 2-3 pages of instructions on one slide if you want. You know, it just depends on what you want to all explain. I tend to
worry
be,
about the size to be uploaded to Canva and all of that, you know, because we have.
I don't have a problem, never had a problem with it.
Yeah.
Do you know how large, Mark, how much we can put on Canvas?
A lot.
A lot, that's what I thought. It's probably a pretty big volume.
But Cody, didn't you have?
I had size issues in my 3300 class because there's videos for every lab and on the modules. But I think my max like 2.6 gigabytes or something.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, relatively small if you're.
It is relatively.
Has anyone helped you with your size problems?
They did, but
That's good to know.
They told me that it would have to be limited there. Like that was the highest they could give me.
Okay.
Before it was only like 500 megs or something. I had to ask.
That seems kind of low.
Push.
So once we've generated this, we have the audio file. Let me go back to the slides. And I'll show you what will happen next. So
Can you come right there? You say we have the audio file. So do you download that audio file?
yes, exactly. So I take the narration, put it into ElevenLabs, generate the speech, that little button down there, download it. So I now have the audio file. So think of us as being in that place. Is that what you want to know? Okay, good. All right. So now what do? I go into PowerPoint. I say insert audio. I simply grab file. That's how I was built by slide 5, slide 6, whatever the slide is, and just simply insert it. All right. The next step is a critical step though, is I need to control the animation. When is this audio going to play? What I do typically, and I've got these rectangles here showing up at certain times, and I timed it with the audio. This is a little more sophisticated, but I wanted to show you what you could do. So I'm listening to the audio, noticing when it starts talking about certain things, then cueing the animation to come in. And you'll see it here in a second. But I usually start the slide playing with previous, which means it starts immediately. As soon as it goes to the slide, it plays. I believe you're about to see that. So the final result will be coming up here in a second. Any questions before we get to that? So this is what it ends up looking like.
Let's imagine a coffee shop owner who wants to make smarter decisions. External data can be a real game changer here. By looking at industry and market trends, they can spot what coffee varieties are becoming popular and prepare to offer them before competitors do. Geospatial data can help identify neighborhoods or areas that don't have many coffee options, perfect for planning a new location or targeting marketing efforts. They can also use economic measures to decide how to price their drinks and portion sizes in a way that matches the local economy and customer spending habits. Customer reviews from platforms like Google or Yelp give direct feedback on whether the shop's hours, menu, and service are meeting customer needs, or if adjustments are needed. By pulling all of this external data together, the coffee shop can not only serve great coffee, but also make well-informed decisions that boost customer satisfaction and profitability.
And that's what you can create. It's not hard and it comes across really professionally. And there's nothing tricky about this. There's nothing hard. The hardest part here would be simply getting these to show up at certain times. You did probably notice a slight pauses at times with the vocals. that would be having to do with ElevenLabs. And so you'd have to make sure that what was given to it, sometimes you have to mess with it a little bit. In this case, I thought that was good enough. It's AI, it's never perfect. We all know that, but it's good enough to like teach. And if it hiccups a little bit, it might catch their information, catch their attention. So, but again, very doable. My thinking on doing these is number one, why would you share this? Because I think MTSU, we can all create very professional online courses. It's not hard. And when all your slides look like this, the students tend to watch the slides. They have audio with them. They're explaining things. It's not me in front of a screen with a whiteboard saying, and now pay attention to this, really need to pay attention to this, and they're tired of my voice by then. So I can vary things, I can bring up things, overall it comes across well. Questions? Okay. So the only output you have, once you have all this in there, is to save it as a PowerPoint show or then port it over to YouTube. It'll export to YouTube, be easy. We'll link it via Canvas. Piece of cake from there. The only downside with the YouTube links is you can give them the YouTube link, but because the links inside the show are not hot, you're gonna have to provide those links separately as well. So my Canvas course, you're gonna have you know, the one that I suggest, but I'm gonna say here are the videos and here are all the links you're gonna have to hit separately then, because you're not gonna be able to get to them from YouTube. And I believe, okay, pros, cons. I think it comes across professionally. It's not my voice, it's not my ums and ifs and having to record it 3 or 4 times. So that's one huge benefit, I think, from a professorial standpoint. Because I know how many times I'd be recording it, I'd be 3 minutes in, and I'd be and I'm like, oh crap, now I have to redo that part. That goes away because all you're using is ElevenLabs credits, and they can fix those, and it's just a matter of you changing the text. Perfect every time. Vocals audio quality is not dependent on the professor's abilities, hence. Personal voice can be created, I mentioned. You can make it sound like you if you really want it to. The audio is easily transcribed and closed captioned because it is professional. You can see how crystal clear it is. Cons, I'm still looking for those. Haven't found any downside to this. Maybe they don't see it as personal because it's not your voice, but I think they see it as professional and easy to understand. And because you're dealing with that text, when you're using ChatGPT or Claude or whatever to get that text, you know exactly what's going in there. You can actually use that to create questions. So you could use it to create multiple choice questions or something like that as well. I've actually done that in my PowerPoint slides. I'll have them at some point and be like, okay, do you remember this? Now it's not for points. It doesn't get collected by Canvas or anything, but just to ask them, are you paying attention, if you will? The limitations is, again, the non-active links. Yes.
I think, and I sounded like Tara Perrin was listening, is on the call. I think with the video, you could use H5P to make those links active inside the video.
Yes.
So you wouldn't have to have them on the side. It's an extra step.
Yes.
But I mean, you could make the videos completely interactive.
You probably could. I'm not as big a fan of the YouTube videos from the fact that they double speed them. So I really want the control of that. But no, I've dealt with that a while ago when we did some work on the data science program and created that. And it seemed like a big hassle at the time. Maybe it's gotten easier.
Yeah, I haven't used it yet. I'm just about to.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to open Pandora's box with this. I want it to be something that can be done pretty easily that all of us can do. And there's nothing special about my abilities. I'm pretty good with PowerPoint, but honestly, this didn't require much.
From the Zoom room, Tara is asking if you upload your own voice, can other people download and use them as part of the database?
So can they download your audio? I don't have the answer to that. So is that a concern in terms of security, in terms of misusing your voice?
Yeah.
That's always a concern of mine. That's why I don't actually use my voice. It's another reason why I should have put that there. For security purposes, I don't honestly do videos. I don't like doing a video with my likeness on it because I know they can make me say and do anything. So it's too much AI can go sideways on it. Great question. Anything else?
How long have you been doing this particular technique?
Year and a half.
So have you thought of, or have you put any like custom questions into the SETs, the student evaluation of teaching, and ask students, what do you think?
No, I'm not.
I'm just curious what the actual student
Okay.
interest is, and you can track some of that, right? In Canvas, you can track like, oh yeah, they watched the whole thing, or they didn't watch the whole thing, or they didn't, whatever.
Yes. So I know I'm on the record and Tara's listening, so I'm about to get myself in a lot of trouble. So I will say this, in my graduate class, I had this all fully developed, and I told them last semester, which was when the full time I had it fully all working and I felt very comfortable with it. I said, look, show up for the first class. After that, you can choose. You can either watch these or you can come to class and I'll go through this stuff with you. Nobody showed up to class anymore.
Oh, wow.
And what the response I got was, why am I showing up? I got everything I need here. I love it. So the feedback I'm getting, at least from them personally, I know that's biased, but the feedback I'm getting from them is like, we prefer that to you, which I don't like because I feel like I'm a pretty animated person. I try to make things interesting, but it's a drive up here. They seem to enjoy the overall approach to it.
Because you put the work up front, right? And
Yes.
you tailor it to their needs.
Well, I think that's the key to it. And is this easy to do? No, it's easy to just throw some PowerPoint slides up there and say, read them. But what you want is longevity. You want something that looks good, something that's easily editable. So when you asked about audio per slide, well, guess what? And this is a question, and coming from our department, you know this. I was asked by another member of our department, can you do anything that's cloud-based? Because we need that in there for accreditation on that. And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. How do I do it? Added 2 slides. Came up with narration for it. I'm not a cloud-based person. I know what it is, but I can't teach on that. So I got ChatGPT to like fill in the blanks and teach it properly. Create 2 slides, create the narrations, pop them in, create, the audio and all that. Done. How long does that take? Less than an hour. The main problem was creating the slides. What do I put on the slides? But I can tell it, just explain cloud services, how they might apply to business intelligence. And so long-term, you can then adjust these very easily. You can adjust text, you can adjust anything you want, which is the whole point to me, which is I need to create something that is not only easy for me to use, easy for me to create, but easily modifiable as things change. Because in my area, as those people in my department know, they're changing rapidly. And so but I think that's about all I have. I think I threw up, questions. We already had some, but I did want to make that point there. And so, Sam, you kind of asked about that already. I'm happy to teach a workshop on how to do this like step by step. So somebody could actually do it physically, but I just need to talk to the center if they want to do that. But any other, question?
Just sort of a rework question, I guess. If you already had this produced as a PPT show, and then at some point you look at one of those slides and you think, oh, shoot, I should have said, and you want to add 1 sentence, would you go back to ElevenLabs and add the 1 sentence and record, or how does that work?
Great question. That's the easily modifiable part. That's one reason why I saved that text underneath in the notes. So then I can go in those and go, oh, I need to add that sentence, type the sentence in, copy, paste it over to ElevenLabs, create the new audio, bring it over. That literally takes as long as it takes to write the sentence plus 5 minutes.
And that's the new audio for that slide, but all the rest of the slides. So then you have the
audio is by slide.
But the PPT show is all of the slides together.
It is all the slides together, and you have that ability. I have it on some of this. I didn't want to bring that up, but I actually have it where audio will cue at different times in the slide. So you can make it as an animated thing. It's like, okay, at this point, now trigger this audio file.
Yeah.
So it's up to you on how sophisticated you want to make it, but you don't have to. Good question. Any other questions? John, got anything on
The Zoom room, that will be all. There are no questions. Yeah.
No more questions. Okay.
Great, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you, Scott. I wanted, and thank you for those who joined us online. I just want us to thanks as well our sponsors, the College of Graduate Studies, the Grad AI, the initiative on Grad AI. Also, these workshops are in collaboration and sponsorship from the Office of the Provost. So thank you, Scott. That was very informative. I really hope we will see you in a more immersive walkthrough workshop.
I'm happy to do it.
Thank you so much.